Welcome to my scrapping space. I'm Joni Martin, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator located in Southwest Wisconsin. Thanks for watching my video. I appreciate it. Today, I'm going to share a heart card. Could be a Valentine, maybe you have a Valentine birthday, maybe you need an anniversary. And I'm using one of my favorite papers from one of the paper packs available in Celebration. I'm going to talk about how I used it and some quick, easy tips to make this quick card. Let's get my face out of the way and let's make a card. So here's our card, and I'm using the paper pack in Celebration. Celebration happens in January and February. It's offered by Stampin' Up as a thank you, saying we love our customers. And with purchases of $50 or $100, you can choose items from here. This is free with a $50 purchase, and it's a paper pack called Most Adored 12 by 12. If you have this paper pack or are getting it and looking for ideas, I'll link below 2 other videos that I made cards using this paper pack from. So you have lots of ideas for it. So the paper pack has gold on one side, and one of the videos will show how I cut this, let's call it falling hearts, to make a card front. And we have a gold marble. I'm calling this gold brush stroke. Not sure why, but, or dripping paint maybe. All these golds would be beautiful for anniversaries, weddings, any kind of celebration. Like, I think this would be great on a graduation card. We have some pretty little flowers here. Oh, we have a plaid. Those of you who know Joni know I love plaids. And one of the cards I'll link below use that plaid actually. And we have this pretty flower. Then on the back side, we have let's say more of a matte, there's no metallic on it. Look at this gorgeous plaid. This is the plaid we're using today, which I try not to show favorites with my paper, but this is really one of my favorites of this pack. These pretty little hearts. And we have a marble. This is Flirty Flamingo. This heart is, it's kind of hard to see on my screen, but there's little white hearts in there, again on a Flirty Flamingo background. And this is real red with white hearts. And again, this is a paper pack from Celebration. Now I paired it, see those tiny little hearts? And you may have like a little heart punch you could use. What I used was in the annual catalog, it's called Adoring Hearts Dies, and it's actually a hybrid. There's an embossing folder and a die. And again, I'll link a note on that video below. I showed how to use the 2 together. But there's this little die in there that cuts out 4 hearts at a time. I love anything that's a little more efficient. So that's what I used to cut those black hearts. And we're gonna set this aside, and I'm putting this die back in before I lose it, because you know I do lose things. And let's look at our card. The other thing we used was an embossing folder. I love embossing folders. I think they're an easy way to add a touch of texture and kind of up your card game a little bit. This is one of 3 that come in a set. They're called the Basics embossing folder. And this one is the Basics crosshatch. Now when I get my embossing folders, I immediately type out a label for them. I put the name, and then I put what we call the sandwich, like which plates am I going to use to emboss, and I'll show you that as we get there when we go to use it. So then our pieces are, we have paper cut from this, and I'll have all the dimensions underneath. I have a piece that's 2 1/4 by 6. This little piece just adds some interest to the inside of my card. But here's what we want to get to. Here's our card front. And this is our black and white gingham ribbon that I'm also going to use. And again, all supplies will be linked in the blog post. So I'm going to emboss, but I'm going to first attach it to the mat. And the mat is usually considered that solid color piece that's on the back of your paper. You know what we're missing here, folks? We don't have a card base. Let's do that next, and then we'll get to the other card front pieces. So I'm going to use basic black, and I thought I would do just a quick review about how we cut card bases. So most cardstock comes 8.5 by 11, which is what I have here. And your card base is typically half of that. And half of it going this way is 4 1/4, and you cut it here, and that makes a card base. I'm going to cut it the other way, which is probably the more common way. So if this is 11, I'm going to cut half of that, which is 5 1/2. Here's my 5, here's my half. I'm going to line it up at 5 1/2. And I'm also going to make sure that I've lined it up with the lip of my paper cutter and that my cutting blade is below that. So when I hold this and push up, my paper doesn't move. Now I have 2 card bases. We'll just use one right now. That's all there is to it for cutting a card base. And then we'll fold it in half. And our card base is done. I like to use a bone folder because I don't always have the hand strength, and this just helps me get a nice fold. All right, so let's go back to my card front. Here's my pretty paper. Here's the card mat. This is typically 4 by 5 1/4, but all measurements will be below. Now, I like just a skinny little mat underneath. If you want a wider one, I went down 1/8, you'd go down 1/4. So what I'm saying is, if this is 4 by 5 1/4, I cut this 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Now, a good friend of mine, a talented paper crafter, hates to cut 1/8, so she always goes down 1/4. So she'd cut this 3 3/4 by 5. Whatever works for you, how much mat you want to see, you know, how good your fractions are, what you want to cut, any of it works. I'm going to do just a touch of glue. I'm next going to emboss this, which means I'm putting it in my cut and emboss machine and applying some pressure to get some texture or a print on, you know, a detail on it. So I don't want to be too heavy with the glue, because when I press those 2 pieces of paper together, it's going to push really hard. And if I have too much glue, I'm going to have glue squirting everywhere, including in my lovely embossing folder, and we don't want that. Let's make some room for the cut and emboss machine. I love that this machine, the sides fold up so it doesn't take as much space on my work table. Now let's go back to what I said here. Remember I said plates 1 and 4. You're always going to use 2 plates, whether you're cutting or embossing. Plate 1 on our machine, you're always going to use. So it's always going to be a 1. And then plate 4 is this gray one on the Stampin' Up Cut and Emboss. And it's always a sandwich. You never want your 2 plates and then something on top. This protects whatever you're working and protects your machine. So with our embossing folders, this logo means that's the front. I'm gonna wait till you can see it. Yep, that's the front. We want it there. I'm gonna put it in here. And I like to use that line. Stampin' Up gave me that line. It helps. I'm really close to the camera. I'm gonna pull back a little bit so you can see, maybe not. What we don't want to do is push it all the way to the top, because there's an area of space there that it won't emboss. So bringing it down, this just gives us a guide where we want to line it up. So I have it in my embossing folder, fold first, Stampin' Up logo on top. And that's the next part of my sandwich. So I'm going to put that here. Then I'm putting the plate on top, because nothing goes on top of this. Then we're just going to roll it through, and we're going to go from pretty paper to embossed pretty paper, and that really ups your card game. Now I'm really close to my camera stand, so I'm going to move back and show you the magic of embossing. Get rid of these. And here we have an embossed piece. Isn't that pretty? I'm going to hold it up and check my, yeah, I think you can see. Either that or you can just trust me. It adds just a whole nother layer. Yeah, you can see the embossing on there. So how easy was that? That took no time at all. So now I'm next going to do my ribbon. This is 4 inches and my ribbon is 12. My rule of thumb is if I'm just tying a knot, not making a bow, I'm going to go 3 times around. If I'm going to tie a bow, I'm going to go 4 times around. But, you know, however works for you. And I'm just laying it here. I have measurements on my glass plate, so I'm going to put it about an inch from the bottom. So here's what I do. I'm going to stick a glue dot right where I want that knot to land. It's going to do 2 things. It helps me eye up where I want it to land, and it holds it in place for me, so as I continue to tie the knot, it's like having that extra hand when you're tying bows on packages at Christmas. So I'm at an inch. I think I want my knot right there. Now this is just what I do, guys, and so then I haven't put it down, but I can kind of tell what's going to work as I bring it together. Yeah, a little bit more. So you just kind of play with it before you tie that first knot. Wow, I really was off. There we go. So I still have some room to move with it. Yep. And then I'm going to tie a knot here. But for me, it's easier. The tails seem to land better if I tie it upside down. I have no idea why. There we go. So I have that. That glue dot is holding that first piece that, you know, I kind of came together. Now, I'm not trying to hold that down and tie the knot. I just have to tie the knot. And pull. Now, if I don't want them going kind of both ways wonky, just stick this underneath. And they're not even, doesn't matter. That's why we have scissors. Grabbing the scissors. And it would probably help if I grabbed one that was sharper. Oh, I need to find somebody locally that can sharpen my scissors. So that's going to go here. And while we're at it, let's just trim that one too. There we go. Okay, guys, this is such an easy card. And sometimes we need easy. This is now going to get attached to my card front. Let's grab some more glue. Just like that. Because it's embossed, the surface is not smooth. So I'm a little more generous with the glue because it has to kind of go in those crevices that I created by embossing it. And now I'm just going to lay it down here. And look at this ribbon. It wants to kind of come back up. So I like it down below. And we're going to tell it who's boss. I'm grabbing a glue dot. Like so. The same kind I just used to hold the knot in place. And I'm going to roll it because I want it a little thinner. And then this is what we're doing. Because it's my card and I get to say where stuff goes. I'm going to stick it right here. That's where I want that end to be. Like right there. And we're just going to hold it in place. There you go. Now it won't move us. Now remember I used that die and I cut some little black hearts. And I have a whole bag of them here. I'm just doing 3 because I'm considering those my embellishment on my card. And my rule of embellishments is 3 in a roughly triangular shape. There we go. Now you could glue them down and that would be fine. But I'm going to use our mini dimensionals that come in black. Like they were made for these little black hearts. So on the back of each one, I'm going to put a tiny little black dimensional. Now, if you didn't have black, you could use white. If you didn't have minis, cut them in half. But since I do, let's use them. There we go. Now I'm just checking this one. It looks like I got a little far off the edge and I can see that and I don't like that look. So we're just going to gently lift it and move it back where it belongs. Then I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool. You can use whatever works for you, fingernails, whatever. And we'll start with one, wherever we want it to be. There's not a right or a wrong. And did you notice there's no sentiment on this? Like I didn't stamp anything for the front. I did that on purpose. I think it's more flexible. So sometimes I make up these cards like I will with this one. I'm not even going to stamp anything on the inside till I know what it's going to be when it grows up. Maybe it's going to be a birthday card. I have a sister-in-law with a Valentine birthday. Maybe we have some anniversaries in February. Maybe it's going to be an anniversary card. Or maybe it'll be a Valentine card. But regardless of what it's going to be, I don't want to send it in a naked envelope. So I have a strip of 2 1/4 by 6. Again, all numbers will be down below. I'm going to take my envelope flap. Like this is the part of the envelope that you're going to see back here. That's what we're going to cover. I'm going to fold it backwards. I'm going to put some glue on the envelope flap, not on the piece of paper we're covering. And my glue is going to go all the way around the envelope flap because I don't want a loose piece of paper that's going to get caught in a mail sorting machine. The person getting the card won't like their shredded card, and the postal system won't like me if I jam their machine. So let's stay on everyone's good side and make sure we have glue all the way around the envelope flap. Oh, and look at this little extra black heart wants to ride along. Nope. There we go. Now this other little strip, if I knew what kind of card I was making, I would stamp first. Then I'm going to glue this on the top and trim. It just brings a little bit of color from the front of your card to the inside. But like I said, I'm not sure what this card is going to be yet. So we're not going to worry about stamping the inside. And then we're going to trim. And I'm just using the envelope flap as my guide. And I'm going to trim all the way around. And there we have an easy peasy Valentine. Let's call it a heart card for whatever you need. Maybe it's a gratitude card. With a great envelope. Took very little time to make. So we can't say, I don't have time to make my cards. You do. Look how easy this was. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it more than you know. If I shared something that was helpful to you, please let your crafting buddies know about my YouTube channel. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. If you have questions about any of the products that I use, they're all Stampin' Up! Products, reach out to your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd be honored to help you. Until next time, take care, stay well, and keep crafting. It's good for you.